Hello everybody. Today we shall discuss about writing thesis and dissertation proposals. Myself, Dr. Shiv Kumar Biswarapur, Associate Professor and Research Guide, Department of Studies in Education, and Deputy Registrar, Evaluation Section, Karnataka State Akkamadevi Men's University, Vijaypura. So here are my cell details and email and YouTube channel details. So please go through that. Friends, various terminologies are used to mean a research proposal, depending on why the research is carried out, why we need research, what is the intention of conducting research. So, on this, the various terminologies have given their own uh, meaning and definitions in connection with the research proposal. Also, a research proposal is a research outline, plan of research, or it is a thesis plan or a project proposal, and it is a blueprint of future activities of a research project, is format and detailed statement of intent of the researcher. It represents and justifies a plan of action and shows the investigation plan. Just a blueprint of future activities of a research project. So it justifies a plan of action and shows how we are going to plan of research. Proposal describes proposed plan of work. So it is what is intended to study. That is the scope and research questions. How you intend to study your topic. That leads to methodology. Why this topic needs to be studied. That leads to significance of the research. When you will complete this work, and that leads to timeline, and it depends upon occasions. In a project work, you need timeline, whereas in research, there also theoretically it needs time, but it may extend. Where you will conduct this work. So these are the questions always we have to put in mind before going to write a proposal. Then how to start a research proposal? So first of all, establish a writing schedule. You all should have a schedule. So have on a schedule to start your proposal. Begin by free writing. Go on writing whatever the things comes in your mind. Keep a small notebook with you to write down relevant thoughts. Compose different parts in different computer files or on different index cards. Start with more clear-cut sections first. So you have a notebook, go on for free writing, and establish a schedule. And if you are working in a computer, make it a different files and give a clear-cut different sections. Next, understand that the proposal will be negotiated. Be prepared to revise. So, doesn't mean that once if you prepare a proposal, it is final. No, it go on changing until unless it is accepted. Think of the proposal as an introduction to your thesis or dissertation. It is just an introduction to your thesis or dissertation or project work. Remember that your proposal is not meant to limit ideas but to help you think practically. So don't limit your ideas while writing a proposal. And apart from this, you have to talk to your supervisor or research guide or research advisor. Next, so whenever you are starting your research work, put yourself a few questions. The questions are, what is this problem? Why should we study it? This is very important. And if you put these questions under the relevant activities are selection and statement of the problem. What is the problem? Why it should be studied? If you think about these two questions, definitely you are selecting a good problem. That's what the statement of the problem for your thesis or research work or dissertation or project work. And next question, what information is already available? If once you prepared your problem, or if you are ready to with the problem, then what information is available? Already available means those who have studied well in this connection. That's what the literature review. And next questions, why do we conduct research? What is the achievement of the research? This is a very important. This most of the researchers will fail here only. Why do conduct research? That's what you have to frame the general objectives. And what is the achievement of the research? That is what you are framing the hypothesis. So keep in mind, once if you frame the general objectives, it leads to specific objectives, and specific objectives will help you to frame the hypothesis. Next comes how to carry out the research, how to collect data and information, where from to collect data and information. These all leads to research methodology. So go on putting yourself the questions and the relevant activities you will get, and relevant activities will help you to involve yourself in the research work. Next comes how to write a research proposal. The proposal should have sufficient information to convince the readers, because your research work will become a legal document. It will become a public document when you complete the research and will place it in a when it goes to the public domain. I mean, when you keep this research work in the form of thesis at library, that will go to the public domain and that will become the public document. Anybody can access your thesis and they can read and they can comment and they can give suggestions, or else they can use it as a review of literature for their studies. And the proposal should have a sound methodology. So like this, the first title, I mean the first step is title. So how should be research title? It should be concise and descriptive. It should have functional relationship, and it should have the independent and dependent variables, and it should create readers interest. That's very important. And next comes the introduction part. The introduction generally covers the following elements. So you should state the research problem well. That's well in manner that suits the context. Present the rationale of your proposed study. What is the rationale behind selecting that problem? Third one, identify the key independent and dependent variables. So you have to identify the independent and dependent variables. So write down about that independent and dependent variables, and how you are using the independent dependent variables in the research, and the definitions. That's very important. And how the definitions you are going to frame in your research in connection with the independent and dependent variables. And what is the scope of the study, that you have to elaborate. Provide definitions of the key concept, that is very important, and don't go on writing the things which are there in the textbooks, which are there in the reference books as it is in the thesis. That is not necessary. What is required for a fresh reader, that's you are going to present. Next comes literature review. Most professors prefer a separate section which allows a more thorough review of the literature. That's very important. How other scholars have written, how they have framed the problem, how they have utilized the theories, how they analyzed the materials or data, how they analyze the data, and what are the questions they have posed, how the findings and the relevant context are utilized. These are good practices of the literature review. The best methodologies and research techniques for a particular topic. So that review of literature also helps you to have the research techniques for your topic. No, effective literature review should lead to how the effective literature helps for research. The first point is the flesh out the background of your study. It tells the review of literature should tell the readers about the background of a study. Critically assess important research trends or areas of interest. So it helps to criticize the trends and areas of interest in the review of literature. And it also helps to know the potential gaps, research gap, and it helps to enhance the knowledge. And next point, establish a need for current and future research projects. So you should develop a link between the current and future research perspectives. So next, you should write down conclusion on review of related literature regarding the research gap, how it relevant, and what should be done, and why you have selected the present title. Keeping in mind these 4 points, you have to write the conclusion on review of related literature. Next comes methods. The method section is very important because it tells you how to plan to tackle your research problem. It will provide your work plan and describe the activities necessary for the completion of your project. The methods will depict. The methods will give a clear cut ideas about. The guiding principle for writing the method section is that it should contain sufficient information for the reader to determine whether methodology is sound. Furthermore, since there are no well-established and widely accepted canons in qualitative analysis, your method section needs to be more elaborate than what is required for traditional quantitative research. More importantly, the data collection process in qualitative research has a far greater impact on the results as compared to the quantitative research. Now, the method section entails the overall methodological approach when you are going for data analysis. Second point, indicate how the approach fits the overall research design. Third point, describe the specific methods of data collection. Which methods are adapted to collect the data. Explain how you intend to analyze and interpret your results. The statistical analysis and theoretical framework. If necessary, provide background and rationale for unfamiliar methodologies. And last point, address potential limitations. For quantitative studies, the method section typically consists of the following sections. Quantitative method and quantitative studies are nowadays familiar as it leads to descriptive and survey methods. The first point is design. Is it a questionnaire study or a laboratory experiment? What kind of design do you choose? That you have to write down systematically. Second point, subjects or participants. Now that's very important. Who will take part in your study? Which standard of students are participating in your study? What kind of sampling procedures do you use? There are ample number of sampling procedures are there, and which sampling procedure you are going to adopt for your study. Next point, instruments. What kind of measuring instrument or questionnaire do you use? Why do you choose them? Are they valid and reliable? Whenever you are using the questionnaire, you should use the standardized questionnaire. That is very important. and they should have validity and reliability. Next comes procedure. How do you plan to carry out your study? What activities are involved? How long does it take? That procedure you have to write down. Now, the significance of or implications of methods. Discuss the methodological substantial and or theoretical contribution. How the analysis help to reach the theoretical aspect of the study. State the practical or theoretical importance of the problem of your study. Explain the usefulness or benefits of the study to both the outside world and the research community. So these are very important because you have to, you have to tell the readers about the practical and theoretical aspect of the research study of encouraging the problem. Now, the common mistakes in writing the proposals. Number one, failure to provide the proper context to frame the research questions. Most of the researchers will fail in framing the research questions. Second point, failure to delimit the boundary conditions for your research. So you should have uh, your own the scope of for your study. Third point, failure to cite landmark studies. So citations are very important. You have to cite wherever necessary in a systematic manner. Fourth point, failure to accurately present the theoretical and empirical contributions by other researchers. Most of the researchers will fail here only because they they won't give proper and adequate review of literature. The problem is different and the review of literature is different. That doesn't suit for a good research study. Next point, failure to stay focused on the research questions. The research question is different and what is the flow of theoretical aspect? I mean the key terms and definitions and theoretical elaborations of the independent dependent variables is different. That should not be. Next point, failure to develop a coherent and persuasive argument for the proposed research. So, whenever you are collecting the review of literature, there you have to quote the research gap. Why the gap occurs, and what is your intention? That what you have to argue and you have to criticize. Too much detail on minor issues, but not enough detail on major issues. So, minor issues in the means most of the researchers will uh, they'll prepare 600 and 600 700 pages together thesis, but in that most of the 400 pages together information is about only theoretical aspect that is not required. The required is major data analysis part and how this is analyzed and how you are going to criticize and what is the relevance in connection with the studies and what is the context that you have to maintain. Too much rambling. I mean, going all over the map without a clear sense of direction. The best proposals move forward with ease and grace like a seamless river. So, our research should be an adequate flow. So, whenever the people are reading your or else referring your thesis, they should feel, they should have interest in reading your research work. Next point, too many citation lapses and incorrect references. So sometimes what happens, the research problem is different and the cited uh, and referred materials is different and review of literature is totally different from the selected topic or selected uh, problem. That what happens uh, that motivates the readers to lose their interest in reading the thesis too long or too short. That what I have told a couple of seconds ago, that the thesis should be moderate in size. It should not be too big and it should not be too short. And here are the some steps. It may varies from universities to universities, or else it depends upon the guide. It depends upon the concerned university, research advisory committee recommendations, etc. But in general, the following steps should be maybe. followed in writing a research proposal. The first one is the title, second introduction about the research title, and introduction means the overall introduction about the topic you have selected, the problem you have selected. And third point, statement of the problem. It should be precise and concise. And fourth one, rationale, justification or significance of the research. Next point, scope and limitations of the study. And next point, review of literature. Next comes objectives of this research. In there, you have to mention specific objectives. That's very important. Next comes operational definitions of the terms used. Independent and dependent variables. Operational definition is very important. So, how the independent and dependent variables were used in our study, that you have to write in the form of operational definitions. Next comes hypothesis. As I told, that general objectives that leads to specific objectives, and specific objectives leads to hypothesis. That's very important. So whenever you are writing the research proposal, so keep in mind general objectives, specific objectives, and the hypothesis. These will help you a lot in writing a research proposal. Next comes methodology used. So which research design, which research method you are going to utilize in your study. Next comes time schedule, work plan. You have to write time schedule. This is also an option. Next comes budget, estimated cost built up. That means whenever you are going to write a project, this step is very important. But as far as possible, uh, while writing a thesis, this budget and estimated cost build-up is not required. Next comes organization of the report, chapter outline. This is also an option. It depends on the research advisory committee recommendations of the concerned institution. But this next one, bibliography and references are compulsory, and you have to write American Psychological Association format while writing the references and bibliographies. Next comes conclusions. So this comes earlier. Methodology used. After that, you have to write about conclusion. But it also depends upon how your guide and research advisory committee recommends. And appendix, the questionnaire and other things, whatever you are going to use, that you have to enclose a copy of that. So overall, your research study should have this format. Introductory part, the desired share should be 10%, but whereas sometimes it is acceptable 15%. Findings and discussions, it is a desired share should be 80%, whereas in some cases acceptable is 70%. Summary and conclusion, desired share is 10%, whereas acceptable 15%, to overall 100%. So here just you focus on how these findings and discussions are very important. I told you that don't elaborate too much while writing a proposal and research thesis. So don't write too much on the theoretical part. Just 10% or 15% is sufficient regarding the operational definitions and introduction and independent variable definitions, etc., etc. Or it should be 15%. That's more than sufficient. But more focus is on findings and discussions, analysis part, and your critical aspect, how you are going to criticize, how it is relevant to your studies, and what are the major findings, that you have to focus on more. That is the 70%. But desired is 80%, desired share is 80%, whereas acceptable 70%. Next, summary and conclusion. That's very important. That plays a vital role in all the research studies, in all the aspect of the research. That is acceptable is 15%. So in this is very important. Just focus on this and make it 100% by contributing like this only. So that is the end of the presentation. Request you all, please wear the mask and maintain social distance. Thank you and all, and don't forget to subscribe my channel. Thank you.